Welcome back to Hoops Hype, and today we'll be talking about our top 25 players under 25. And it's finally gotten interesting now that Luka Doncic has aged out of this category, as for the last few years he has dominated it. So today we'd like to get right into it and talk about potential guys who could be the next ones up. So here are the 25 guys that we ranked as the best players under the age of 25. So let's get right into today's video. At 25, we have Jalen Suggs, the man who's kind of following the footsteps of Drew Holiday and becoming one of the premier defenders at the point guard position. So far, he's averaging 16.5 points, 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals on 41% from the field, and he is becoming the table setter, the defensive closeout perimeter point of attack guy that the Orlando Magic need next to Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Ever since his days at Gonzaga, we all knew he had the potential, but it took a few years to work itself out. But now finally, it seems like it's all coming to fruition, and he is just a dog, a guy who just relentlessly attacks his opposing ball handler every game, night in and night out. And it seems like he's going to start to shake the injury bug, hopefully. Next up, of course, we got ourselves Coby White, another guy who kind of had his breakout a little bit later than expected. Everybody remembers Coby White with the big old throw back at UNC, and now the guy's averaging 18.5 points with 3.5 rebounds, 4.6 assists per game, my apology, 1.1 steals. And the crazy part about this is that he is the scoring guard who is super efficient, can play both the one or the two, can be a starter, can be a guy who come off the bench. That is the quintessential definition of a spot starter, microwave, kind of just any role you need him, he's able to fit into it. And if it's not with the Bulls, some other team is going to get themselves a very useful player for his prime. And he's someone that a lot of people might have written off, and then last year just popped off. Now, coming in at 23, I just love how our first three guys on the list, all guys who had potential. We all knew it was there, kind of refreshing of settings, either same team with a new coach or just a new team in general. And Dyson Daniels over here, the guy who's averaging like 3 steals a game, might win Defensive Player of the Year with how he's doing. If it's, it's probably going to be Wemby, but if it wasn't for Wemby, it's Dyson Daniels, who's also averaging 13 points and 5 rebounds, 45% from the field. Better than Marcus Smart, who won Defensive Player of the Year a few years ago. And the crazy thing is he was naturally a point guard, and now he's playing 1 through 3, more 2 and the 3, but still a guy who looks like he's going to be the best defender at his position for a while. Next up, we bring ourselves to Amen Thompson. Another guy who is a great defender, who's going to be a great defender and a perennial all-defensive team member for the next 10 plus years. Averaging this year 12.5 points, 7.6 rebounds and 2.5 assists, 1.1 steals, and 56.2% from the field. He was a 4th pick in the draft, and some people might have thought that was a little bit of a reach, but slowly and surely, Ime Udoka has been gaining trust in the young man. And now he goes full blast every play, either attacks the rim, can be a secondary playmaker, attack in transition, defend in transition. The ultimate Swiss Army knife, who seems like the potential might be limitless with him because he has such a good work ethic. And by the way, shooting 56% from the field. Yeah, the 3-point shot isn't around yet, but he's still efficient when he does shoot. Next up, I know people are going to say this is crazy, at 21, RJ Barrett, but 23 points a night, almost 7 rebounds and 6 assists a game for a swingman who can play the 2, the 3, small ball 4, and arguably putting up the best season of his career. Got paid, and I think quietly he's becoming one of the most reliable players, always playing, does his job night in, night out, and is a guy that I think people need to take more seriously as a cornerstone for Toronto next to Scotty Barnes, because they both kind of complement each other. And the crazy thing is he's become a better shooter over the years, like almost a dead eye, 46% right now from the field. So he's just fantastic and very enjoyable to watch. At 20, Brandon Miller, The hype has cooled down since the rookie year, even though it's only been a few months since the rookie year ended, and now we're in his second year. But his numbers are up. 21 points, 5 rebounds, almost 4 assists. He's a guy who's a little bit skinny, but in everything he's gotten better. Yeah, his efficiency has gone down, but I think that he's just turning 22, and he's arguably the least efficient high-volume player in the league. He's a bouncy athlete who's going to be a perennial scorer, who looks like that he can be an all-star. Worst comes to worst, he's a really good scorer who is just, a bit skinny and not big enough to, to take on the contact and absorb the physicality that's needed to be that free throw line getter that's always racking up points. Because I think that's the next step in his game, and just becoming like an ultimate shot creator. But if he does that, then I think he is an all-star to the point of what they need next to LaMelo Ball. Cam Thomas, baby. Cam Thomas, people had doubts. They said he could put up 20 points a game, but he didn't do much else. Man, he comes back, so averaging like 25 points, almost 4 assists a game, 4 rebounds. He stopped taking the long twos as much, and now he's going out there taking threes, looking for his teammates, and just being really, really efficient. And if it's not with the Brooklyn Nets, somebody's going to get themselves one of the best scoring guards in the NBA. And the thing is he's top 20 scoring average in the league right now. And if he had played 10 years ago, he'd be in 5th place. Right now, he's 17th as of recording this video in leaders scoring points per game in the NBA currently. So if we go on to the next man on our list at 18, Jalen Green. A guy that people had written off, said he wasn't going to fulfill his potential, was just an inefficient player who wasn't contributing to winning. Again, Ime Udoka installing those fundamentals, 20 points a night, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, about a steal a night, shooting about 42% from the field. The former number 2 overall pick is a 3-level scorer, volume scorer, a guy who has the ability to go off and drop 50. He has the scoring, the shot creation ability that very few players on this planet have. He had that 41-point game against the 76ers. And the fact that he's only 22 years old, and I think there are things that he needs to improve on. The Rockets are actually almost 8 points per possession, 100 possessions better with Green not on the floor. I think that's just maybe a bit of his efficiency. He's figuring out how to take this large volume and just be more effective at it. But once he figures that out, I think the ceiling as a scorer, shot creator is limitless with Jalen Green at times. Now, Tyler Hero. Durability was a big concern, but I think people thought he had peaked, and then he becomes one of the best shooting guards in the league. A guy who's a shot creator, secondary playmaker, tries on defense, does the whole thing, scoring, diamond, just doing the whole thing, whatever he said. Almost 24 points, 6 rebounds and 5 assists, 40% from 3. And he went from being fragile to being the shot caller that they needed. Not only is he putting out all-star caliber numbers, I think he's genuinely putting himself in position to go out and maybe 3rd-team All-NBA. I really think he could make a case to being the 3rd best shooting guard this season. You'd go number 1, arguably Donovan Mitchell. 2, Anthony Edwards. 3, Tyler Hero or Devin Booker, depending on who you have. Jalen Johnson, top recruit out of high school, had a rough go in college. We always knew he had the tools at almost 6'10", about 6'9", long arms, had the ball handling skills of a guard, and the physical tools to be great on defense. Quinn Snyder finally comes into town, starts making him believe in himself. And now you have a guy who is averaging almost 20, 10, and 5. And the only other players to do that is Sabonis, Jokic, and Şengün. So that's pretty solid company, and he's the only one who isn't a center. And this is a guy who also averaging 1.5 blocks and 1.1 steals. And he's clearly an all-star, but he's also a two-way performer and a secondary playmaker, just kind of an all-around player who is perfect as a complementary sidekick to Trae Young. And I think he's still developing, which is crazy to think. And I think that's because like Nate McMillan doesn't play young players and doesn't help with development. But that's a story for another day. At 15, Zion Williamson. People are going to throw themselves, but come on. This guy was supposed to be LeBron 2.0. Yeah, he's averaging 23.7, almost 8 rebounds a game, 5 assists, shooting 47% from the field, a block a game. Also, he went from being a guy who's averaging like over 50% from the field, and this year he's down 40 to like 47. And we know the fitness level and the constant injuries have him barely inside the top 15. That's really why. Like, he's the health, the fitness level, just the underachieving in terms of his overall dominance at times. But to his credit, Williamson did return from his latest injury-related layoff and looking like he's in much better shape, and he's throwing dunks down. So that could all turn. But like, Williamson was at one point the best scorer under 21 points per 21 years old, my apology, in the history of the NBA based on his points per game average. And even last year or the year before that, when he came back, defensively, there was at times where he looked like he could be the quintessential definition of a guy who guarded one through five. Like, if someone put Draymond Green with LeBron James and just had a scientific child, weird science. So hopefully next year he's back in the top 5. But at 14, Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes, I had him higher. Obviously, our colleagues and I did this, and then we put out our averages. I'm a bit more biased towards certain guys, and I can tell you for a fact I had Scotty Barnes, I think, in my top 5. He's another do-everything, a point forward. Probably as he gets older, he'll play more power forward, but right now, small forward. 20 point per game scorer, 8 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 47% from the field. And he has a 7'3" wingspan. Darko Rajakovic has seemingly trusted him as the franchise cornerstone. I think the next step in his game is just taking over and just staying consistently healthy. I just feel like there's every season now, since his rookie year, there's extended periods of time that he misses. And I just think that needs to be cleaned up. And if he can do that, then again, he's going to be a guy who can be perennial All-NBA, one of the better players in his class who can play point guard, who can play shooting guard, who can play small forward, power forward, and even small ball center. So that's just something I think is just incredible about the kid. Now, at 13, Chet Holmgren. I think he's another one that I had higher, but overall, he's lower than you'd like because injuries have kept him from fulfilling his full potential. And even when he has played, he has looked amazing, but it's been limited. 16.5 points, 8.7 rebounds a game, 2.5 assists, 2.6 blocks per game before he got hurt. And he's a guy, like, if we remove the game that he got hurt, by the way, it turns into 18 points, 9.2 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and almost 3 blocks, 52% from the field and 40% from 3. Health is the biggest concern with him, but if he looks good, finish the season strong, and stays healthy, in a year time, 2 years time, the kid's still several years away from being 25. That another guy who can re-enter the top 5. It's just health concerns has kept him from fulfilling the unicorn potential in terms of consistency. Because when he has been there, he has fulfilled it. It's just like, it's not on the floor enough. And that's something that was taken into account a lot more by my peers than me. But Alperen Şengün, someone that I think is too low to be at 12, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals. Dude, the guy's gotten so good at defense. Like, he went from being the cone, the mismatch hunted man, to being a part of the solution to their defense. Not only that, he's on the same level as Sabonis, if not better than Sabonis, and just outside approaching, like, I don't know if he can get to that level, but like just outside the Jokic level of offensive nucleus that powers the Rockets offense. That, man, he just keeps getting better. So much fun to watch. Tyrese Maxey, we saw at the beginning of the year, he shouldered the load. The guy this year, 25 points, 6 assists, and 3.5 rebounds. And yeah, people are going to nitpick and say shooting splits are down. Dude, there was stretches where there was nobody out there. And that was before they found out, McCain could play. And once they did, at least he had some help. He's shown that during the stretch over that 3 of his last 12 games before we recorded this video, he averaged 27 points, almost 7 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. Come on. 10. Darius Garland had a rough year last year. A lot of stuff went around, and people just started to write him off. And I said, look, last year was rough. I said it all year, and I was like, maybe this is just a down year. And the one thing was that if he didn't follow it up with this campaign that he is currently having, we would have a lot more questions. But man, did he come in, the soon-to-be 25-year-old, make sure that the last year on this list, he tells people, don't forget about me. I'm one of the top players at my position. 21 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, shooting 50% from the field. All right, almost 43% from the field, from 3. He's playing at an all-star level. He's got this change of direction that he can churn on a dime. He's just so smooth and fluid. Can go from being, whenever Donovan sits or doesn't play, or they don't have Evan Mobley or somebody, being can play as the number 1 shot creator, and then go back to being like the 3rd option, and like seemingly has no problem about it. So that type of selflessness is rare today, and I really enjoy it. Cade Cunningham, another guy that I think is low on this list. I love that. I think it was Law Murray who said it, and I've been saying this for years. He said it. Cade is Black Luka. I 100% agree with it. That's way more blunt and shorter and more concise than how I've been saying it. I've been saying that he's the only player since Luka Doncic to be the closest thing to Luka Doncic. And man, is he proving it this year? 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists, 45% from the field. And Luka's more than likely not going to be eligible for any end of the year awards. If not, I think he might have already been ruled ineligible because of the amount of games he's missed. Cade Cunningham's going to fill that spot. He can do everything. He can facilitate. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can shot create from all 3 levels. He also is the guy who makes his teammates better, and that is part of the reason why the Pistons might be a playoff team this year. And this is a guy who's a top 30 player in the year by both WARP and BPM. The other thing is that he's taking care of the ball, 4.3 turnovers a night is 3rd in the NBA for a guy his volume, and he is taking over 4 free throws a game, like just getting to the line. You can clearly tell that JB Bickerstaff is making sure that everything runs through Mr. Luka 2.0, Cade Cunningham, and it's going to be an All-NBA guy. Which, dude, they got an All-NBA guy technically on a cheap contract. Evan Mobley also fulfilling the potential. Before this season started, I was like, is he ever going to look like the guy we saw at USC? Because if you remember at USC how dominant he was, it was insane. 19 points, 8.8 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1.5 blocks, 57% from the field. He's a guy that his PPP, his points per possession, is 1.58 on, and that's the 23rd best mark if we're using on and off ball. And he's literally in the 90th percentile. So the other biggest thing is he's shooting 40% on like 3 threes a game, which was like the biggest thing holding him back for like the longest time. And now that he's doing that, we're just all ecstatic because we were literally saying that Evan Mobley needed to shoot 3s, and it looks like he's finally got there. Shout out Kenny Atkinson. 7, Tyrese Haliburton. He's shooken off the rust that sitting on the bench during the Olympics must have given him while he was chasing all that snow. But 18.5 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.5 steals almost. And this is a guy who is looking like himself. 23 points, 5 rebounds, almost 10 assists over his last 7 before he went this. And they were 5-2 in that stretch. And he's one of the most fun guys who has a one-of-a-kind flair and kind of this unorthodox jumper, change of pace skills that so far, there are very few players who have done what this All-NBA guard has done in his first 3 seasons. So I think it's just exciting. And he's just going to be a guy whose game is just going to age gracefully because it's not reliant on athleticism. Now, Franz Wagner just kept getting better. And if he followed up last year's season with a repeat, we might have thought like, oh, he stagnated. But the guy took everything what people had said and said, look what I did this summer. Got better, got stronger, became a better shooter. And he's returning from injury now. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists almost, 46% from the field, almost 2 steals. And dude, according to our player ratings, he was a top 15 player before he got there. Like, he was on his way to All-NBA strata in terms of player rankings. And he's a guy who is able to both play power forward or small forward. He's able to kickstart transitions, but not only that, he can guard multiple positions, 1 through 4. He can be the primary option. He can be a guy who can complement Mr. Paulo Banchero, or he could be the one who runs the show when the rest of the starters sit. So with the bench unit, and he's clearly just bought in. Hopefully, by the way, his brother blew out his knee, so I hope his brother T's and B's to that. Shout out to their family. Good genes, by the way. Number 5, LaMelo Ball. And it seems like the injury bug is shooken off. And dude, this guy is one of the most creative. You know, he's shooting the most shots per minute since Wilt Chamberlain did it in 1965, I believe. And that's, like, to be exact, 0.725 shots per minute. So almost 0.75 shots per minute, which is an absurd stat. Either way, almost 30 points, 5.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 43% almost from the field, 1.5 steals a night. Dude, this guy plays like he's on the playground, doing everything that, like, you're told not to, and it works. And he also elevates his teammates. This is just wild. And if you can keep it up, stay healthy all year, next year, and follow it up, it just, dude, this team, he's also like 6'7". He has now Miles Bridges and Mr. Brandon Miller and Mark Williams. I feel like they're just a shooting guard away and a bench away from being a team that could maybe surprise a lot of people, in my humble opinion. Now for J-Dub, this guy has no ceiling. He can do everything. He is screaming, yelling, loving it. 21.6 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 48% from the field, almost 2 steals. And if you did the redraft, he arguably could make a hard case for 1. I know Paulo Banchero went 1, but he definitely would go 2nd overall, for sure. There is no young player who's good of a 3-level scorer as he is, as good as a ball handler and playmaker and shot creator, able to be the nucleus whenever Shea isn't on the floor, and he's already at an all-star level, if not at an all-NBA level, and just getting better and better, it feels like, on a nightly basis. The thing with him is that what can he not do is the best question to ask. And it seems like everything he can do. So I really like that. I enjoy it. But Paulo Banchero at 3, the Italian American, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He can facilitate. He is what the modern day power forward looks like. He's a guy who is able to show us that he can run the show. He can bang down low against anybody. He can go shoot the threes. And people said his feet wasn't good, but he has so many moves, so many counters in his bag that it seems like you don't know what's the next trick he's going to do up his sleeve. And then he hits you with a great pass to the wide open guy. And he earned all-star honors last year. And if you can stay healthy and continue playing how he did to start this year, definitely an all-NBA guy. Definitely a top 3 player at his position this season. And it's unreal. It's unreal what he's doing, and it's so fun to watch. Number 2, Anthony Edwards, a guy who has MVP potential, averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds a game, and 4 assists. While this year has been a little bit rough at times for him, as he's getting doubled, being pressured, the guy has swagger. The guy has suave and just this aura about him that screams clutch, screams leader, screams guy who can be an MVP that you want, has that dog in him. He can facilitate. He can jump out the gym. He wants it. He looks for those moments. And he has the personality that seems like people want to be around. And that's the biggest thing that there is. Now, number 1, wasn't a big guess, but Victor Wembanyama, 25 points a game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks, while averaging almost 48% from the field. And he's 7'3", has guard-like ball handling skills, shooting skills even off the dribble like he's Steph Curry, and he's going to go down already on pace to be one of the best defenders of all time. And every statistic milestone you can think of, points in the first 100 games, blocks, rebounds, all that, he's like in first place by a large margin. Like, he is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with a jump shot mixed with Manute Bol, and if he gets bigger next, he's going to be like Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the crazy thing is that as a rookie, he was the first ever rookie to earn first team all defensive honors. He might be, you know, a second-year player who wins most improved, when I've always said that second-year players shouldn't win most improved because they're expected to improve. And he might also win defensive player of the year. It's just ridiculous what he's been capable of, as there hasn't been anything like that. He is an alien and is exciting to watch, in my opinion, to say the least. So that's really where we have it. If you guys want to read the article written by Frank Urbina, link will be in the description. But that's it. That was our under 25, top 25. Really should be phrased top 25, under 25. Let me know your thoughts on this video. What would you guys like to see more from us? I'd be down to hear the suggestions. We're trying to put out more content out here besides just shorts. So that'd be greatly appreciated. Either way, hope you guys have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe, and go to HoopsHype.com for more content like this. I've been Ciro Seo, and I hope you enjoyed.